Welcome to Life Stories, where we explore the journeys of individuals who rise above adversity and fight for what is rightfully theirs. Today, we bring you the incredible story of Olivia Carter, a woman who must confront her manipulative stepfather, Gregory, after he steals her family's estate and betrays her mother's legacy. As she uncovers layers of deceit and fraud, Olivia embarks on a path of justice that will test her strength, resilience, and determination. Stay tuned for this emotional roller coaster of courage and triumph. Please subscribe to our channel to begin the story today. Olivia Carter sat quietly in her mother's study, gazing out the window at the vibrant autumn leaves swirling in the breeze. The memories of the past few weeks seemed to flood her mind, filling her heart with a mixture of grief, anger, and resolve. Her mother, Helen Carter, had been her rock, her guiding star in a world that often felt uncertain and hostile. Helen had always been there for her, offering love, support, and wisdom. But now, as Olivia stared at the empty chair beside her, she realized that everything she had ever known was slipping away, taken by the very man who was supposed to protect her. Her stepfather, Gregory, had never been a man of kindness. Olivia had always felt the weight of his manipulations, though she had never been able to fully put her finger on it until recently. As her mother's health declined, Gregory's behavior became increasingly controlling. He isolated Helen from her family and friends, slowly pushing Olivia out of the picture. The tipping point came when Olivia discovered that Gregory had taken control of her mother's estate, using forged documents and deceitful tactics. He had even gone so far as to drain her mother's accounts, funneling the money into offshore holdings, all while pretending to be the devoted husband. But it wasn't until the night before her mother's death that Olivia realized just how far Gregory had gone. In a moment of rare clarity, her mother had whispered her final words, a warning that felt more like a plea for help. "Protect our legacy," Helen had said, her voice weak but resolute. Those words echoed in Olivia's mind, and for the first time in weeks, she felt a flicker of hope. Maybe not everything had been lost. Despite her grief and helplessness, Olivia found herself driven by a single purpose: reclaim what was rightfully hers. It wasn't just about money or property, it was about honoring her mother's memory, about restoring the family legacy that Gregory had so carelessly torn apart. But as the reality of her situation set in, Olivia realized that the task ahead of her was monumental. Gregory's grip on the estate was tight, and he was a master at hiding his tracks. How could she, a woman without legal expertise, take on such a powerful adversary? How could she fight back against someone so determined to crush her spirit? Olivia's answer came unexpectedly from her oldest friend, Sarah Matthews. Sarah had been a steady presence in Olivia's life since childhood, a friend who had always known how to offer comfort when the world seemed too heavy. When Olivia confided in her, Sarah listened patiently, offering empathy and support, as she always did. But what struck Olivia most was Sarah's unwavering confidence. "You've always fought for what's right, Olivia," Sarah said, "even when things seemed impossible. You've always stood firm. This time won't be any different." The words were simple, but they carried a weight that Olivia hadn't realized she needed. For the first time since her mother's death, Olivia felt a surge of strength that had been lying dormant beneath her grief. She wasn't alone. She had the truth, and as long as she had that, she could fight back. The following weeks were difficult, but they marked the beginning of Olivia's transformation. Sarah, ever resourceful, managed to get Olivia an interview at a small law firm downtown that specialized in inheritance and estate law. The job wasn't glamorous, but Sarah assured her it could provide the tools Olivia needed to take on Gregory. At first, Olivia was hesitant. She had no formal legal background, and the idea of navigating the complex world of inheritance law seemed daunting. But Sarah's encouragement, along with her own growing determination, pushed her to apply. The firm's managing partner, Mr. Harris, was an older man with a sharp mind and a kind heart. When Olivia explained her situation to him during the interview, she felt an unexpected sense of validation. "You've been through a lot," he said, leaning back in his chair, his gaze thoughtful. "But I can see you have a strong sense of justice. That's exactly what we need here." To her surprise, Olivia was offered the position on the spot. Her first few days were overwhelming. She was thrown into the deep end, learning the intricacies of estate law and how to navigate the complex paperwork that came with it. But as Olivia worked her way through the stacks of files, she began to feel a sense of control return to her life. Every case she reviewed, every strategy she learned, felt like a small victory. A step closer to exposing Gregory's fraudulent actions. She wasn't just earning a paycheck, she was building the foundation for the battle ahead. One afternoon, as Olivia was organizing a client's case files, she stumbled upon something that made her blood run cold, a report detailing fraudulent transactions and forged documents. The patterns were eerily familiar, and Olivia knew at once that she had found something crucial. Gregory had been laundering money through shell companies, just as he had done with her mother's estate. The evidence was damning. Olivia's heart raced as she reviewed the documents, her anger and disbelief mounting with each page. With newfound determination, Olivia set up a makeshift office in the guest room of Sarah's house. Filling it with files, photos, and notes, she began to track Gregory's financial activities, painstakingly connecting the dots between the fraudulent transactions she had uncovered and the shell companies that had been siphoning money from her mother's accounts. It was all starting to make sense. And for the first time in weeks, Olivia felt like she had the upper hand. This wasn't just about money, it was about justice. For her mother, for her father, and for everything they had worked for. But Olivia knew that she couldn't do this alone. She needed help, and that's when she thought of Mr. Harris. With his legal expertise, he could help her build a solid case against Gregory and expose the depths of his corruption. Olivia had taken the first step in reclaiming her legacy. But the journey ahead was still uncertain. The path was long and fraught with obstacles. But Olivia had one thing that Gregory could never take from her: the unshakable will to fight for what was rightfully hers. The days following Olivia's discovery were filled with both a sense of purpose and an overwhelming weight of responsibility. She had uncovered Gregory's schemes. But that was just the beginning. Now, she had to figure out how to turn this information into something that could stand up in a court of law. Gregory had played his cards well, hiding his actions behind layers of deception. And Olivia knew that exposing him would require more than just evidence, it would take strategy, preparation, and a level of cunning she had never had to summon before. One evening, as she sat in her makeshift office at Sarah's house, poring over the documents she had gathered, Olivia's mind raced. The more she thought about Gregory's actions, the more her resolve hardened. He had taken everything from her mother's legacy to the peace she once had. But Olivia refused to let him win. As she stared at the stacks of paper before her, a thought crossed her mind. She needed someone who could help her navigate the legal complexities and bring the case to life. That's when she reached out to Mr. Harris, the managing partner at the law firm where she had been working. After explaining her situation and the evidence she had collected, he agreed to meet with her. Olivia had always admired Mr. Harris for his sharp mind and integrity, and she knew he was the right person to guide her through the next steps. When they met at his office, Mr. Harris wasted no time in analyzing the evidence. He leaned over the papers, his brow furrowing as he took in the details. "This is serious," he said quietly, his tone grave. "Gregory's actions go beyond mere fraud. This is systematic deception, designed to rob your family of everything they hold dear. But we'll need more than this to build a case. We need witnesses, corroboration, and a strategy that will hold up in court." Olivia's heart sank, but Mr. Harris quickly reassured her. "What you've gathered so far is impressive, Olivia, but we need to think bigger. We need to bring in more pieces of the puzzle. And I have some ideas on how to do that." Olivia's mind raced as he spoke, the weight of the task ahead becoming clearer by the minute. But there was no turning back now. Over the next few weeks, Olivia worked tirelessly with Mr. Harris to put together the pieces of the puzzle. She tracked Gregory's financial activities even further, discovering even more fraudulent transactions, shell companies, and hidden assets. Each new discovery was a small victory, a reminder that the truth was on her side. But as Olivia dove deeper into Gregory's life, she began to uncover things that shocked her. Gregory's connections, his influence, and the extent to which he had manipulated people were more extensive than she had imagined. Olivia knew that in order to expose him fully, she would need to confront the people who had been complicit in his schemes. But those individuals weren't likely to come forward willingly. If she wanted to succeed, she would need help from someone who could shine a light on the dark corners of Gregory's world. It was then that Olivia remembered Rachel Thompson, an investigative journalist she had met years ago. Rachel had a reputation for exposing corruption and bringing powerful figures to justice. Olivia had always admired her fearless approach to uncovering the truth. With some hesitation, Olivia reached out to Rachel. She explained her situation and asked if Rachel would be willing to investigate Gregory and his dealings. After a brief conversation, Rachel agreed to meet with her, and they began discussing the details of the case. Rachel's enthusiasm for the project was palpable, and Olivia found herself feeling a renewed sense of hope. With Rachel's expertise, they could expose Gregory's corruption on a larger scale, bringing attention to the depths of his deceit. As the investigation progressed, Olivia's understanding of Gregory's actions expanded. She discovered that Gregory had been laundering money not only through shell companies but also through investments in dubious ventures designed to inflate his wealth. It was clear that Gregory had been living a life of excess. And the more Olivia learned about his reckless behavior, the more disgusted she became. He had used his charm and manipulation to deceive everyone around him. And now it was time to make him pay. But Olivia's growing understanding of Gregory's activities came with a new realization. He wasn't just a greedy man. He was dangerous. The more Olivia dug, the more she uncovered about his ruthless pursuit of power and control. And now that she was getting closer to the truth, Olivia knew that Gregory would stop at nothing to protect his empire. As Olivia continued to piece together the evidence, she felt the weight of the situation more than ever. The fight ahead would be long, and the stakes were higher than she had imagined. But one thing was certain, Olivia would not stop until Gregory was held accountable for his actions. The battle for her family's legacy had only just begun, and Olivia was determined to see it through to the end. Days turned into weeks, and Olivia felt as if the walls were closing in on her. The more she discovered, the deeper she was drawn into the labyrinth of Gregory's manipulation. She had always known that he was a man driven by greed. But now she saw the full extent of his corruption. Olivia worked tirelessly with Mr. Harris and Rachel, poring over endless documents and piecing together the web of deceit Gregory had spun over the years. Every new revelation, every fraudulent transaction, felt like another step toward justice, but also another reminder of the pain Gregory had caused. The evidence was mounting, but Olivia knew they needed more. While the financial records and documents provided crucial insights into Gregory's actions, they weren't enough to bring him down. To secure a solid case, Olivia needed witnesses, people who could testify to Gregory's deceit and the way he had manipulated others for his own gain. But finding those witnesses was proving to be a difficult task. Gregory's network was vast, and many of the people involved had long since disappeared from Olivia's life. Olivia felt the weight of her isolation. She had no family left to help her, and though she had Sarah and Mr. Harris by her side, they could only do so much. As she sat in her office late one evening, her mind wandered back to the days when her mother was still alive. Helen had been the glue that held everything together, the one who had always fought for what was right. Olivia wished, more than anything, that her mother were here to guide her through this. But Helen's absence left a void, and Olivia had to navigate this treacherous path alone. That was when Olivia received an unexpected call from Rachel. "Olivia, I think I've found something," she said, her voice filled with excitement. "I've been digging into Gregory's business associates, and I've found some names linked to the shell companies he's been using. They're not just his employees, they're his partners in crime." Olivia's heart raced. This was the breakthrough they had been waiting for. Rachel had uncovered a lead, people who had worked closely with Gregory and who could potentially expose him. Olivia knew that if she could get one of them to testify, it would be the key piece of evidence needed to bring Gregory to justice. But convincing these people to come forward would not be easy. Gregory had a way of intimidating those around him, using his power and influence to keep people in line. Determined, Olivia set out to track down these individuals. She started with the most accessible, someone who had once been a trusted associate of Gregory's but had mysteriously disappeared years ago. Olivia's first meeting with him was tense. The man, whose name was Mark, was wary, his face etched with fear. But as Olivia patiently explained the situation, he began to open up. He confessed to his role in some of Gregory's schemes and revealed details that could make or break the case. However, Mark was reluctant to go public. He was terrified of Gregory's wrath and what it might mean for his future. Olivia, recognizing the fear in his eyes, knew that she had to tread carefully. "Mark, I understand your fear," she said softly, "but you're not alone in this. You don't have to let him win. If you help me, you'll be doing the right thing. Not just for me but for everyone he's hurt." After a long pause, Mark nodded, his voice shaky. "I'll do it," he said, his decision made. With Mark's testimony secured, Olivia felt a new surge of confidence. She had the evidence, and now she had a witness willing to speak out. But there was still a long road ahead. Gregory, she knew, would stop at nothing to destroy her. Olivia's every move was now being watched. She noticed the subtle signs, the black car parked outside Sarah's house, the unfamiliar faces in the crowd when she went out. Gregory's paranoia was growing, and Olivia had to be more careful than ever. But despite the growing danger, Olivia remained resolute. She had fought too hard to let fear take control. With Mark's testimony in hand and the mounting evidence against Gregory, Olivia knew that they were getting closer to the end of this long, painful journey. The pieces were finally falling into place, and she was ready to take the next step, to bring Gregory to justice and reclaim what was rightfully hers. As Olivia left her office late one evening, the weight of the world on her shoulders, she caught a glimpse of the moon in the night sky. It was full and bright, a symbol of the light that was beginning to break through the darkness. For the first time in months, Olivia allowed herself to hope. She wasn't just fighting for the family legacy, she was fighting for herself. For the strength and resilience she had discovered deep within her. And no matter what came next, she knew she would never give up. As the days passed, Olivia found herself caught in a delicate balance. Every step she took toward exposing Gregory's lies felt like a victory. Yet the danger that loomed over her grew more tangible with each passing day. Gregory's influence and control were vast, and Olivia knew that the deeper she dug into his empire of deceit, the more vulnerable she became. She could feel his eyes on her, even when she wasn't looking. His reach extending into the corners of her life where she thought she was safe. It wasn't just the physical threats that worried her, it was the emotional toll of the battle. Each new discovery, each step closer to the truth, reminded her of everything she had lost. Her mother's absence was a constant ache, and while Sarah's support helped to keep her grounded, Olivia couldn't shake the sense that she was walking through life in a fog. Gregory's manipulations had fractured her world, and though she was reclaiming it piece by piece, the path was far from easy. Despite the mounting pressure, Olivia pressed on. She knew that she couldn't stop now, not when she was so close to bringing Gregory to justice. With Mark's testimony secured, and the financial evidence painting a clear picture of Gregory's wrongdoing, Olivia felt a renewed sense of purpose. But there was still one thing she needed: confirmation that Gregory's connections were as deep as she suspected. If she could uncover more about his associates, people who had enabled him and benefited from his fraud, it would be the final nail in his coffin. That's when Rachel brought her another breakthrough. "Olivia, I've been speaking to some of Gregory's former associates," Rachel said one evening, her voice filled with excitement. "I've managed to track down a few more names. People who've worked with him for years. And I think they'll be willing to testify." Olivia's heart raced. This was the opportunity she had been waiting for. The more people who came forward to corroborate her findings, the stronger the case against Gregory would become. But she knew that these people, like Mark, would be hesitant to speak out. Gregory's power had a way of silencing those who dared to oppose him. The next day, Olivia met with another of Gregory's former associates, a woman named Linda who had worked with him in the financial sector. Linda was nervous, her eyes darting around the room as she sat across from Olivia. But when Olivia explained the situation and the impact of Gregory's actions on her family, Linda's resistance began to fade. "I never realized the extent of what Gregory was doing," Linda admitted, her voice trembling. "But I can see now. He was always so convincing. He made us believe he was doing it all for the business. For the company. But I know now that it was all a lie. Linda agreed to testify, offering crucial details that Olivia hadn't known before. With each new witness, the pieces of Gregory's criminal network began to fall into place. It was clear that Gregory had not only been laundering money but had also been using his power to manipulate entire systems for his own benefit. But as Olivia got closer to unraveling the full extent of Gregory's crimes, she began to notice that he was becoming more erratic. His once perfect facade was starting to crack. It started with small things, slight tremors in his voice during meetings, an unexpected outburst during a dinner party. Olivia noticed it, too, as she tracked his behavior, and it became apparent that Gregory's control over his empire was slipping. The more Olivia uncovered, the more desperate he became. She could feel his paranoia seeping into every interaction, and it was only a matter of time before he made a move to silence her. One evening, as Olivia sat in her office reviewing new documents, she glanced out the window to see a black car parked outside. Her heart skipped a beat. She had become used to being watched. But the feeling of being pursued never got easier. Olivia's mind raced. Was it Gregory's doing? Or was it someone else trying to send her a message? She didn't have the luxury of doubt anymore. The fight she had started was no longer just about money or power, it was about survival. She had already lost so much. But she wasn't going to let Gregory take everything from her. Not now. Not when she was so close. With a deep breath, Olivia turned her attention back to the documents in front of her. It was time to move forward. She knew the risks, but she also knew that she had come too far to stop now. The truth was finally within her grasp. And she was going to make sure that Gregory paid for the years of manipulation and deceit he had inflicted upon her and her family. As the walls closed in on her, Olivia felt a surge of determination. She would finish what she had started, no matter the cost. In the final moments of Olivia's long and arduous journey, the truth stood tall, unwavering against the mountain of lies Gregory had built over the years. The courtroom had been tense, the air thick with the weight of everything at stake. Gregory, once so sure of his position, now found himself crumbling under the overwhelming evidence Olivia had meticulously gathered. His empire of deceit had shattered, and Olivia, with her strength, courage, and unwavering determination, had reclaimed what was rightfully hers. The courtroom erupted in murmurs as the judge delivered the verdict. Gregory's fraudulent activities were exposed for the world to see. And the estate, once stolen, was now returned to Olivia. But for Olivia, the victory was about more than just the property. It was about reclaiming her dignity, honoring her mother's legacy, and proving that justice would always prevail, no matter the odds. As Olivia stood there, her heart full, the weight of the battle lifting from her shoulders, she felt an overwhelming sense of peace. The years of suffering, the moments of doubt, and the overwhelming grief had all led her to this point. And now, standing in the aftermath of it all, she knew that she had not only defeated Gregory but had also found a strength within herself she never knew existed. The family estate, once a place of pain and betrayal, was now a symbol of her resilience. She restored it with love and care, honoring the memory of her parents. The work was never done, but Olivia was ready for whatever the future held. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey. If you found inspiration in Olivia's story, please subscribe to our channel for more life stories that remind us of the power of truth, justice, and the strength within us all.